All right.
Where did you watch the game, and what was your reaction last night?
I watched it at home, and my reaction was that TCU was unreal the first half, and then Texas was a lot better the second half, but TCU made enough plays to hang on. It was a strange game, I thought, because TCU turned it over. Texas turned TCU over a bunch, and Miles didn't have a great game by Miles standards, and Texas, struggled to make some good looks, and next thing you know, it's right there at the very end, and ball obviously came up big. So it was a good competitive game, very typical of a Big 12 game.
Did you celebrate at all, and what's your reaction to winning it outright?
No, I did not celebrate at all. I texted the fellas, and the staff, and that was about it. My reaction is, I'm happy. I'm hoping something happens like last year with us, and not everybody may feel the same or have the same thinking about what's going on. But last year we played TCU and Texas back-to-back at home and labored to win both games. Ball didn't go in the basket. Guys trying too hard. And very similar to West Virginia and Tech. And then after we did enough to get a piece of the championship, it seemed like to me, the pressure was off a little bit, and we played much more freer after that. So, I'm hopeful that's the case with this particular team beginning going down to Austin.
Would you ever consider resting players and switching the lineup and all that, since the game is not for the title?
In a word, no. So no. This is a huge game. We're playing for. There's a lot of things to play for. There's seeding. Certainly can't affect our Big 12 tournament, but if you have that attitude, I think that you're minimizing what's most important. It's not like an NBA playoff where you already know who you're going to play, and it's going to be a best of 7, and you want everybody fresh. We're still playing to put us in the best and most favorable position come tournament time. So as long as we're playing, we're going to try to win.
You said a couple times this week that Cam Martin's done. So is he officially medically redshirting?
It's not official. I don't think we can make an official call by rule. I think that's something that has to be approved by the powers that be. So we don't make an official determination that he gets a medical red shirt. That we apply for it, or he applies for it, and then a decision is made after that. And that is what will happen.
He's been out for a while, but what went into that decision to finally make that decision with him?
He's not healthy. He still has days where he doesn't can't go and that kind of stuff. And so he's not 100% healthy. Not even close. I should say not close, but he's definitely not 100% healthy.
Not close enough.
Well, what you're doing now is if he was 100% healthy, you put him out there, and he may get some reps, but it'll be limited without question. He hasn't played all year, but that's not the reason why he's not playing. The reason why he's not playing is because he hasn't been healthy enough to actually put him in a position where he could get those reps. So.
Bill, Rupp and Wooden are the only ones to do what you've done, and that was a time when there was not the parity there is today as far as dominating major championships and big conferences. Just talk about, looking back. I know you usually deflect that stuff, but what you've been able to do in the 20 years here.
Well, first of all, it's not what any individual's been able to do, is what we've been able to do, because we've had great players and great coaches and all that stuff. I think the consistency is something that I take great pride in, and I think most people do, but with consistency it sometimes creates stale, boring. If you have a pitcher that has every game he gives up 2 runs a game in 7 innings, and you think, well, what an outing. But if he does it every game, well, when's he going to get a shutout? One of those type deals. And I think that sometimes that creates that stigma sometimes, because whenever you don't match the consistency in the regular season with the postseason, it totally automatically minimizes the regular season. And I think that that's happened with us some, and deservedly so. But I think we've been pretty consistent throughout. And to me, the mark of really doing a good job, or if you had a great financial guy, I think it's probably a little bit easier to maximize your upside when the market's really good. I think it's a little bit harder to minimize your downside when the market's not very good. And our players have done a good job of not taking dips and being at that fairly consistent level year in and year out. So I do take great pride in that. It's not our emphasis any year that's our ultimate goal, but it's certainly always a goal during the period of time which that can be our only goal, which is basically from January to March. So for that 8 or 9 weeks, it is a goal to try to win something that you compete in. And then after that's completed, then the goal switches to a whole nother goal.
First matchup with Texas, you guys were on your mark. But talk about that, and then Texas personnel in general.
Well, I thought we played pretty well against Texas. What did Jalen have that game? 2. And so that was a sign where the bench kind of came through, if I'm not mistaken. And Joe had a huge game. I think he had like 14. And I thought we played really, really well against Texas. And it was a pretty smooth game, and they still scored 80 points on us. So we've got to do a better job defensively. I know they beat us on the glass multiple times, and we did a lot of good things when we win by 8. So and it really turned up building, and going down there, I know it'll be just as turned up, and their players. When you talk about rosters, I don't know that anybody from a roster standpoint matches up with Texas in our league 1 through 8. I mean, they got 8 guys that they can put out there and basically claim that all 8 are basically could be starters. So and really go 9 instead of just 8. So I think they got a great roster, and of course they have a terrific scorer in Carr, and Allen's one of the best competitors in our league and been great against us. And Rice is probably the best 6th man in the country, and Dessou is playing best ball of the year without question. I mean, just everybody is more than capable of having a big night. They're really talented and athletic.
I'm wondering with KJ, you spent a lot of time in December, early January, talking about him on the defensive glass. I think over the last 6 games, he's averaged like 4 defensive rebounds per game, twice as much as earlier. What do you feel like has sparked that? Is it a conversation you've had? Is it just effort?
No, it's not. It's never effort with KJ. He always gives effort. It's more him understanding the mindset to go after the ball, and to make it real clear. I like what you're saying, and he has improved, but it's not the right mindset where you hope it ends up, though. I mean, for you to say that a guy averaging 30 minutes a game in league play is getting 4 defensive rebounds a game, that to me is not a lot. But what KJ has done a great job of is he's done a great job of making sure his man doesn't get the rebound. And against Oscar, that was his job. And then everybody else had to clean up. But over the course of time, he's still potentially your best defensive rebounder. So he's got to release and go get the ball. And I do think he's doing a better job of that. He's always done a decent job blocking out, but he's doing a better job of actually hitting and go getting as opposed to just making sure his man doesn't get the ball.
And as Big 12 play has gone on, how do you feel like he's adapted to the way that teams have adapted to going to the short roll stuff that you guys did a lot of?
Well, if you look at the game the other day, we didn't get that at all. A lot of switches. Teams are doing different things to take things away. I'm sure Texas will do something comparable, at least in their strategy to try to take certain things away. And that may not be something they try to take away, but I know that Texas Tech did, and they were pretty good at it. So, you know, they watch tape, so I'm sure they'll see some things. But I like a lot of the stuff he's done. I think he's gotten better at catching it, driving it. I think he's a little bit better finisher than he was. He's certainly become a better free throw shooter. He's done a lot of things to allow him. What's he averaging, like 13 in the league? Is he averaging close to 13 in the league? Yeah. Something like that. So which is a pretty good number for a guy that, you know, averaged 1.8 or first 44 games here.
Coach, I asked DeJuan this in terms of from a scale of A to F of your performance of this season. I know you still got a lot more things to do. He said not an A+, but he'd give the team an A. From your perspective, what would you give on a scale from like A to F in terms of what the team's done so far?
Well, when it comes to academics, I think Juan would make sure everybody got an A if he could. So that didn't surprise me at all. So I would say, I don't know that I'd go quite as high as an A, but I'd probably go A-. I think the guys have done well. So hopefully our best ball is still in front of us. But I wouldn't disagree with Juan, but you know, he's probably a little bit more lenient grader than what most professors might be.
And one last thing, I got a cool moment when Jalen was talking about you on senior day, so I kind of wiping away the tears. Uploaded it to social media because I knew a lot of fans would like that. Christian responded and said soft.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to get your perspective on.
He was talking about Jalen, right?
It might have been you because I know you were wiping away. Maybe it was tears, but yeah, he said just soft.
I've had this speck in my eye for a long time. You know, when you do senior speeches, and of course, also Christian is the same guy that didn't text me congratulations, nothing. All he texted me immediately after the game was, "That's the longest damn speech in KU basketball history." Talking about Jalen's. I actually think he's probably right on that. Probably am a little soft when it comes to these guys and how much sacrifice they've made. And certainly with Jalen, I'll be candid with you. He's shown me something each and every year that I may not have known he had in him. He's taken it to a whole new level each and every year, and you know, that makes it special. And the other thing that's special to me is the guy conducts himself with such an air of confidence in anything he does. Walking into a room, meeting an adult, speaking in front of 16,000, how he plays when things go bad, adversity. He's got a way to exude confidence in any situation, and I think that's something that we can all learn from. And it's been fun and special to watch over time.
Bill, can you talk a little bit about, I know you mentioned it's important, obviously it's not for the title, but what are you hoping to see from your team on Saturday that kind of translates over to the tournament and overall?
Well, I would, you know, Texas, winning at Texas will be, you know, the equivalent of winning, you know, probably about as hard a game as you would have in the tournament. So you know, that would be a pretty good barometer of where we are on that, at least that particular day, and what our potential is, needs to address, and that kind of stuff. But what I would like to see, like I mentioned earlier, I'd like to see us play with the same intensity with a freer mind, and that to me translates to postseason success as much as anything.
Couple quick ones. Do you feel like Jalen's player of the year in the conference?
I feel like he's player of the year in the conference. I've never been, I don't think I have, campaigned for my guys to win an award in which the other 9 coaches vote on. And so I don't think that's the right thing to do. I think coaches in their own way have their own perspective and what they value most. I know for me, what he does, I value most. And so I believe that he is, but that, you know, there's still another game and before I think coaches are required to have their vote in there. And, you know, I can't vote for Jalen.
Right.
And it's my job, I see, to vote for the guy I think should be player of the year if it's not Jalen. Not to vote for somebody that won't be player of the year to help Jalen. So sometimes I think with this award, the way it's done, can skew it a little bit. But I certainly, in my mind, he is. But I can't vote based on what's in my mind. I'll vote based on excluding him totally.
And maybe a better way to ask it too. That was a good answer. But he stacks up to the other guys that you've had that have won that award. Or does he? I guess we
won the award a lot lately.
Yeah.
Devontae won it over Trae Young, in large part because he was the best player on the best team. He wasn't the best guard in the league. He was the best player on the best team that had the best, stretch of games that allowed us to win a game. And he made an unbelievable play at Texas Tech to win the league. To me, that carries value, and I think it did with other coaches that year. If I'm not mistaken, Frank was the year before, and that was hands down. There wasn't a second place that year. In 2020, if I'm not mistaken, I could be wrong, I think Doak and Doc may have finished 1-2. And to me, that was an easy one that a Kansas guy would be the National Player of the Year, even though Butler was at Baylor. But I think that particular year, one of those two would win it because we won the league. And then last year, Ochai there wasn't a second place last year, in large part because of the year he had and won the league. And so, I'm hopeful that carries the same weight this year.
Yeah, similar type of question. Do you feel as good about your resume for a 1 seed and maybe even the Midwest as you possibly could right now?
Well, I would feel better if we had one less loss on the resume. But I don't think this. I think if somebody were to ask me what would be a perfect scenario, I think perfect scenario would be go to Des Moines and go to Kansas City. I'm not sure that's the sure-all thing because we went to Kansas City before and got beat. So but you would think in theory. But the games aren't played in theory; they're actually played, and so I'd like to think that we could get to Des Moines, and then whether or not we have a chance to go to Kansas City is strictly based on how we do and how other teams do, and there's still a lot of ball left up for that. But do I like our chances of being a 1 seed? If that was your question, yeah, I do. I mean, we put ourselves in a very favorable position to be a 1 seed somewhere. Obviously, just don't know where. And it's nothing's done, but by any stretch. And being a 1 seed doesn't guarantee success. But I think that you work all year long to be as good, high a seed as possible. So hopefully we can, finish what we started.
Coach, you joke about being soft, but we also know that you'll let these guys have it when you think that's what they need. I was just curious, what goes into maybe the relationships that you have to build, or even is that something you look for in recruiting, the guys that when you need to kind of tear into them, they're going to be able to handle that and they're going to respond well to it?
I probably look at it a little differently. Tear into them would be something that football coaches do, not basketball coaches. So I don't really see it quite tear into them. I see it more as trying to get something better out of them. And I really think this. I think all young people yearn for discipline. They just don't know it. I think all people that want to make basketball a career, they want to be coached in a way to give them the best chance to do that. I think anything that we do less than that is basically settling, and I think that'd be the worst thing a player could ever say to me is he allowed me to settle. So it's good that guys can handle the good, but if you can handle the good, you got to be able to handle some of the not so good too. It's never been an issue here. There may be some guys that struggle with something early on, but my goal is by the time they leave, it's water off their back, just like poor play in the first half is water off your back, getting ready to play the second half. So,
anything else?